Closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item listed on the agenda. Staff provided a report, but there was no reportable action taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will go ahead and adjourn the closed session meeting at 6:08 p.m.
Mayor, before you proceed, I just want to note for the record that Councilmember Chavez did join the meeting virtually during your meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. Okay, we're now going to go ahead and call to order. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, February 13, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. This meeting will now come to order at 6:08 p.m. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 361, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any member should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing from. Due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Invocation. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Ronaldo Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our wonderful Girl Scouts Troop 2543.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, all our wonderful councilmen and councilwomen, our chief, and all the staff and all the high school students. It's good to have them here. Our city manager too, and all of you that are here tonight. It's so wonderful to be here. We are so blessed and we have so much to thankful to God. So let us pray and just remember that as we pray, we come into the presence of God. The Bible says that if we draw near to him, he will draw near to us. So let us bow our heads and let us pray. Father, we want to thank you for the wonderful blessings you have given us day after day. And Father, we come before you because we need you. And I want to put before you our leaders, the men and the women and our staff that also works to make this city a better city. Father, may your grace, may your peace, and may your wisdom be upon each one of them. Father, we invoke your name. Father, we invoke the name of Jesus upon this meeting, and may you be with us. Father, may you guide them and give them the wisdom they'll need, Father, to just be a better city, Father. We ask this in the name of Jesus. And can we say amen? Thank you.
Please stand. Face the flag.
Face the flag.
Put your
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Clerk, will you please call roll of the members of the City Council and Successor Agency?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcena. Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Pulido.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez.
Present.
And Mayor Chair Cortez.
Present.
And present.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now begin with presentation. City Manager, can you please introduce the first one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Polito. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor Cortez. I rolled back to December. We have the Bell Gardens High School wrestling team. We have Coach Sebastian in person and Coach David on Zoom, recognizing them for their league championship and also their success at CIF. So I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, for the proclamation. Coach, if Coach Sebastian here in person, if you could come up, Coach Sebastian, and Coach David, if you'd like to say a few words, I'll turn over the mayor at this point.
Yes, if you can please let us know all the wonderful accomplishments that this team has had.
How do I turn the camera on?
Here into the mic.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. So this is David Corona, I'm the head coach. Do I talk first? Do I wait for Sebastian to talk? How do we do this?
Coach Corona, if you could go first.
Okay, well, this is my little niece Kat. She won CIF yesterday, by the way. I mean, not yesterday, 2 days ago, by the way. First female CIF champion in the history of Bell Gardens. So really proud of her. But right now she's at club practice. So I'm gonna let her talk real quick, and then she's got to go back in there because we're not done yet. She has masters this weekend along with Joseph Martinez. We'll talk about in a bit, and then she has state the following week. So Kat, you want to say something like? You don't want to say anything. Oh, okay. Well, she's happy that she won, and she appreciates your guys' support. All right, she's gonna go back to practice now. Okay, go ahead, Kat. All right, so sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was telling her good luck.
Oh yeah, she's like, good luck, Kat. Knock on the door so they can let you in.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, we won league again this year. We had a lot of hard work put in. We do it year round. I have Coach Sebastian Tapia and Coach Josue Angeles helping me out, and the team is growing. It's our second year with this team, and it's amazing the things that these kids are doing, the work they put in. Our priority has been school. And so I'm glad to say that we're actually getting colleges reaching out to us already, looking for our seniors. Victor Moreno was texted earlier today by a college in Texas, and so was Joseph Martinez. My niece is getting looked at, but she's a junior, still has time. And it's something that we're really proud of as a program to make sure these kids have not only an outlet in the community, not only a sport or something positive that they can do, but really a route to see school in a different light and to try to reach out to colleges that are far, because everybody tries to go around here, me included. I went to Long Beach State, but I think it's a great experience for them to go out, explore. It's good for their growth. So I'm glad that these colleges are seeing their hard work, their effort. And I want to give a big shout out to our senior Joseph Martinez. He joined last year. This kid was 330 pounds last summer when he joined as a junior in high school. And now he's our 220 pounder. He weighs about 217. He lost over 100 pounds. And this guy's dedication has really led the team, I believe. And we're still growing, still getting better. We have a lot more girls this year. We're runners up in girls league. We were league champion with boys and with boys JV. So we have 2 league championships there, and we just hope to do more. We got to the CIF finals. We came up short, but it's still something big and something to motivate the kids to want to keep working and want to get better. So I'm really proud of all of them, proud of my coaching staff. Thank you guys, City Council, for recognizing them. City of Bell Gardens has been great to us. And real quick, I also wanted to ask for our banquet. Last year we had Councilwoman Lizette Flores Franco. She got us Ross Hall, I believe it's called, so that we can use it for banquet. I don't know if there's a way we can still get that this year and have that continued support. That would be real great. And thank you again for your time and support. And we wish to, we hope to keep doing better and keep working hard. And this serves as motivation, I guess like a milestone, of just keep working and knowing where we're at and where we want to accomplish going forward. So, and also a huge thank you to our administration at the school, who has been nothing but supportive. Our principal, Mr. Miranda, and Ms. Patlan, Dr. Velasquez, and Robledo, constantly at our games, and Cornejo at our go to our matches, and they constantly are supporting the kids and congratulating them and keeping them positive, because it is a tough sport. And making weight, having a diet, having discipline for kids is really difficult. So having those positive people constantly encouraging them and giving them positive feedback helps them, like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm good. I'm gonna push through a little more. I'm gonna diet one more week. I'm not gonna eat the pizza this weekend at Super Bowl Friday, or Saturday. I'm sorry. Sunday. Jesus, I'm bad at sports. I don't even watch football. Right? Super Bowl Sunday. Okay, and I guess that's it. I'll pass it over to you guys, and we can have Coach Tapia say a couple words.
Thank you, Coach Corona. And we'll have staff reach out to you regarding Ross Hall.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just can't, express how grateful I am for the support of the community, the school, the admin, and the support here in the community, and from you, the people here in City Hall too. And I just can't, express how young and how hard the team works. It's only a second-year team. They already accomplished so much. We have other coaches asking us, how long we've been out there here at Bell Gardens, how long these kids have been working. And they're just blown away when we say, oh, no one here, or almost no one here, has more than 2 years of experience. These kids work so hard year round, not just in season. They work hard year round. They have practice almost every day, Monday through Friday. Then they go to tournaments on Saturdays and they rest on Sundays. It's just such a tough and grueling and long process, and gotta give the kids, all the credit. As a coach, I can push them only as far as they want to be pushed. And to me, it seems like these kids want to be pushed so far as much as they possibly can. They really want to put themselves out there and just be the best they can be. So, to me, the kids are the real heroes. Yeah. And you want to say also?
I'm just beyond proud to be part of this team. Everyone works so hard. I'm very proud of watching them grow and succeed. And I'm just really glad I get to be part of this team. This is my first year. I watched them grow, and I really want to see the future of this team really grow even further.
Thank you so much, both of you, coaches, for your time and effort. And also thank you, students, for joining us today. It's beautiful to see our council chambers filled with, amazing students who are doing great things. And I do want to know who was the one that made it to the Masters qualify. Awesome, a round of applause for him. That's amazing, but all of you deserve a big round of applause. So I do want to present you with a certificate of recognition. Then I'll have my colleagues speak, and then hopefully we can manage a picture, but it's a great, great pleasure to have you here.
Yeah. One last thing. At our banquet, we also give these kids an award for the highest GPAs in our team. So, just to put that out there, that for us, it's always academics first. They're students before athletes. And I hope that goes on for all sports. I mean, I know at our school it does, but I just want that to, be a huge thing, that first it's always academics, then it's the sport, because this has to translate into things in life. And if we don't see these habits translate into things in life, then, we didn't do our job. So thank you again, council and city council, Bell Gardens, and the community for the recognition and for access to your guys' facilities in order to congratulate and celebrate our athletes, our student athletes.
That's beautiful. I'm glad there's an academic component to that. The City of Bell Gardens would like to present the certificate of recognition to the Bell Gardens wrestling team. The Bell Gardens City Council is proud to recognize and congratulate the Lancers wrestling team for their outstanding win as Almond League champions and for ranking second place in the CIF Division 6 dual competition. We commend the entire team, the coaches, support staff for all their hard work, sacrifice, and perseverance. We wish you much success in all future competitions. Round of applause for them, please. And I would like to open up the floor to our council. Do you have any words of encouragement, wisdom?
Hey, I just want to say congratulations to you guys. Congratulations to the coaches. And I want to just emphasize how important what your coaches are sharing with you is nowadays. Discipline is something that you guys are going to be able to use in your future. And I've seen the practices, and I know how disciplined you guys are. And the coaches are telling me that you guys are working very, very hard every day to push yourselves. So with those skills, you're going to be able to do great things in the future. And I just want to say congratulations, and please don't forget about each other, right? You guys are in a team sport in a sense, because you got to watch out for each other. You guys are a community. And you have to make sure that you remember that once you graduate, so that when you're up there, you have a job, you have a family, you keep doing things to help those that were there from the beginning. Because like, if you look around you, look to your side and look to your other side, these are the people that are part of your community. So don't forget about them, help them out in the future. And you guys have great leaders that are guiding you along the way. So thank you, coaches, for doing that.
I want to recognize the coaches for their leadership. To all the student athletes, I love the fact that you're saying student athletes. As an educator and administrator, I love to see students succeed and work as a team. I know that at times wrestling can be very challenging and difficult as you're placed in a certain weight class and you have to make sure you meet that. And although it may be individual while you're out there on the mat, you have the support of the entire team and your coaches. So continue that success, and I wish you nothing but the greatest, and congratulations once again.
real quick, I just want to echo the sentiments of all my colleagues. You know, it's really great seeing Lancers, Bell Gardens High School students succeed, right, in the athletic side. Seeing wrestling, I mean, that's a tough sport, right? I don't know how many of you grew up watching like WWE or like, you know, AEW and all that, but I mean, to some extent, right, that's sports entertainment. I don't know if potentially maybe some of you want to do that someday, right? You know, it's a real job. You know, there it's acting to some extent, but seeing that here from Bell Gardens, that's incredible, right? And what you guys are doing, setting the bar even higher for our students. Hope to see you guys, you know, continue going farther. And if this is your passion, follow it. You know, don't let it stay here. Just continue going and push harder. And don't forget about your academics. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much. Appreciate the representation of Bell Gardens High School. Thank you.
So recently, I want to say about 2 weekends ago, I began watching a show called 100 Bodies on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen, well, you probably haven't because you've been practicing, but it's a competition of 100 different athletes with different body types, but they're all very dedicated to their own particular aspect of sport. And in seeing you all here, that you're basically doing or performing that show here in Bell Gardens because you're all athletes, you're all independent, strong, but you're coming together to help each other and improve as a team. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm impressed by that 100-pound weight loss. If I can join you just to get that done, please let me for 1 year, just help me meet that goal and I'll cheer you on. Thank you so much for being here and for showing us how great our school is. We're all Lancers, you know, thank you so much. And it's very exciting. Thank you.
Yes, just the same thing that my colleague said. I'm incredibly proud of what our high school is accomplishing, what you all are accomplishing. Back when I was in high school, this was unheard of. Yes, we had 1 or 2 students, you know, qualify for this or for that, but now like we have entire teams performing very well, and all of our sports seem to be performing very well. So I'm excited to bring, you know, soccer, basketball, all the teams here, so we could recognize all the effort that's being done at Bell Gardens High School. This is Bell Gardens. It's a representation that we want to see out there. Not only are you fulfilling your sports, but you're also getting good grades and you're just setting an example and really putting our community up there and staying out of trouble by doing something so good. So, you know, if there's anything that we can do to support you all, and if you want to invite us to your competitions that are local, your banquets, et cetera, I think we're here to support. We're very, very big on education. And that's something that we want to institute here in the city of Bell Gardens. So just extremely proud. And it's an honor to be recognizing you all tonight. Thank you for making the time. You probably had practice or schoolwork or something else to do, but you're here tonight. And it's our honor to have you. So without further ado, if you want to come up here so we can present the certificate and take a picture, maybe council, if you want to stay on the dais, and hopefully that will work. So if those students want to come here. And a big round of applause again.
Hey, I don't know if they could hear me, but I forgot to mention that, you know, since Cal and CIF, how do we go about fundraising for a ring? Just throwing that out there. Have the people in the front take a knee. You can't see some people. Come on, see guys.
Okay, we're gonna continue. Okay, we'll give 30 seconds, a minute for exits. Thank you, students. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and continue our meeting at this point. Okay, we're gonna continue our meeting. Thank you. City Manager, can you please announce our next presentation?
Yes, Mayor Cortez. The next item, we had a presentation for the Bell Gardens Community Police Academy graduates, but staff's recommending that that item be moved to the February 27th meeting, if that's okay with the mayor.
Yes, that works.
Okay. The next item we have is the recognition of our K-9 boss and his retirement, and also for K-9 Officer Ruben Katani for his service with this particular K-9. I'll turn it over to you, Mayor.
Thank you. I would like to call up the Chief Wertz.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and City Council. We have a lot of family members come and go at the police department, whether through retirements or they move on in their careers to other locations. But nobody ever has the impact in a community like our K-9 officers and their K-9 partners. Ruben, Officer Catani has been, or now Senior Officer Catani, has been an exemplary canine handler. You'll go through some of the stats that are on the recognition, but beyond that, this position is the responsibility that a canine officer has for not only having the dog 24 hours, but the constant, they got to cover for the dog on vacations. They got to care for the dog much more than we would care for our normal pets. It's a huge responsibility. It's a huge liability to the city if we don't have the proper people doing or in that position. Ruben Cantani and Canine Boss have been incredible, not only in the drug seizures, but the arrest. And even though we put some numbers on a certificate that you're gonna go through later on, that's just a very small portion. The amount of work that they do in getting people to surrender peacefully because of the dog's presence are 10 times, 20 times what the actual apprehensions are. It takes a quality individual and handler to be able to know when is a proper scenario to send the dog. Sometimes they're telling their supervisors or other agencies that no, we're not going to send the dog on that, even though sometimes they may feel pressure to, or some people may try to pressure them. It takes somebody with confidence, understanding of the laws and the policies, and exactly what the dog's supposed to do and how it's supposed to do it to know when to deploy it. And we've had great success with Boss and Senior Officer Catani. Senior Officer Catani is moving on to a senior officer spot where he'll train new officers, supervise individuals, and it makes it difficult to have a canine. Not only is Senior Officer Catani retiring his dog today, he's also responsible for obtaining the donation of the incoming canine. So it's very difficult to give up a position like that. And it's hard to give up a position like that, and disappointing a lot of times because you become so attached to that type of position. But not only was he behind it, he also went out, found another dog, helped us select a new canine handler. And on top of that, made sure that we got the best dog possible and that the other new canine handler is getting the training that he needs. But I could go on for a long time because I'm proud of the work that these two have done. So with that, thank you for the opportunity. Congratulations, Ruben. Congratulations, Boss.
I think without a doubt, this is the retirement that makes me the most emotional. First, congratulations, Senior Officer Catani, on your promotion. Well deserved. You've done great work for our community. Obviously, it's sad that we're retiring one of our canines, but also thank you tremendously for obtaining the donation for the next canine. And I'm sure you're going to be assisting the new handler with tips and tricks as to how you got Boss to be such a badass. So without further ado, I'm going to present the certificate, then I'll open up for council, and then maybe we'll take a picture. So from the City of Bell Garden Certificate of Recognition presented to Senior Officer Catani and Canine Bass in appreciation and sincere gratitude for 3 years of exemplary service as a canine handler for the police department and Bell Gardens community. Senior Officer Catani has been a Bell Gardens police officer since 2010. In January 2020, Senior Officer Catani was selected to be our canine handler and was partnered with Canine Bass. Since then, Senior Officer Catani and Canine Bass have accomplished the following: apprehended 7 violent felony suspects, forced 11 violent felony suspects who were hiding to surrender, recovered $170,000 in US currency related to the sales and distribution of narcotics, recovered 260,000 fentanyl pills, recovered 860 pounds of methamphetamine, recovered 27 kilos of cocaine, recovered 2 kilos of heroin, recovered a total of 32 firearms, handguns, rifles, and shotguns. On November 13, 2022, Officer Catani was assigned as a senior officer in the patrol division. Due to this assignment, Canine Bass will retire from active service and become a full-time good boy at home with Senior Officer Catani and his family. Congratulations on a job well done. Mayor Pro Tem.
I know K-9 Bass was like the face of the police department for a while. That's how I recognized him. And so I want to thank you for your hard work and dedication working with him all these years and all the wonderful work that you guys did together as a team. So thank you so much.
Well, Senior Officer Katani, I've seen you train this K-9. I've seen you work with him. He was here when our Girl Scouts came over. And he's been a great asset to our department, both of what he's done in terms of community policing, as well as what he's actually done for our community, taking all these drugs, firearms, and violent suspects from our community. So I'm sure he's gonna live a much happier life now, maybe that he doesn't have to work every single day, but we're so proud to have had him with us as part of our force. We're gonna miss him, so hopefully you can bring him once in a while. But we do appreciate your service as well as his service and everything that has been done for our community of Bell Gardens. As always, I'm very proud of our police department and very, very proud of our K-9. Any other words from the council?
I just want to say thank you. I'm very happy of everything he accomplished more than anything. I think you played an important role, but it was all him, of course. And hopefully he'll get an amazing retirement party and he'll get to relax at home. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to everything you'll accomplish in your new role. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Can we take a picture?
Yeah, I'll line up on the edge of the.
Okay. Big round of applause for our K-9 and the handler, please.
Nice.
Are we no longer in that area?
We have a commercial in the middle of our council meeting.
No.
It's impressive. This dumb cat every night comes in my yard. Shits. Causes all the other cats to come.
Just loves cats find the ones that forces themselves.
This evening, we're going to go ahead, as stated on the agenda, but it's a little different from our previous agendas. We're doing public participation for non-agenda items first. So I have received the comment cards. City Clerk, will you please, so at this point, we will go ahead and open public participation for non-agenda items. City Clerk, can you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the City Council Successor Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will first begin to hear from speakers that are in person.
Okay, Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening. Non-agenda. I think I want to revisit an issue of concealed carry permits. I think the county used to be able to issue these things, but I think the chief was correct that they got too lazy and didn't want to do it and relegated it down to the local officials. And sometimes that's better. Again, I want to support our police wherever we're at. And we need them to protect us, and we need to protect them. And if you want to conceal carry as a law-abiding citizen, I'm here to tell you that you already have permission to do that. And that is in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. It's unfair that the local police have to go ahead and, you know, keep track of some of this stuff. They've got plenty to do, as we see with the police dog and Officer Katani, and, you know, the fentanyl pills that they confiscate and all the things that they do. It's probably correct what the chief said. It's 10 times more or 20 times more effectiveness than what we can do as human beings. But dogs are valuable. They are officers. And I do want to support our police in that we do protect them, and that we also recognize them on Law Enforcement Day recognitions. I'm not sure if this city has done that. It was on January 9th, but I can tell you the city of Downey has not done that at all. And it's been requested of them to do that repeatedly. And they have refused to give nothing but mere lip service to the police. And we need to protect our police as well. That may sound a little odd, but if you see a police officer under stress or duress, you should be there to help him or her. Okay, and not just sit here and slander our police saying that they're out just hunting down brown and black people to assassinate them on the streets. There's not one that I know of that comes to work thinking to do such a thing. Not one. Okay, forget all this woke social justice stuff. Support your police. Over in Downey, we had an off-duty officer over there get killed in a parking lot. And I don't know if anybody came to his aid or not. But that's a sad testimony if nobody did. And it's just a sad thing. I don't want to see it in my town, and we should always support our police. And congrats to Officer Katani as well. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan, a Bruin butt-kicking Florida Gator. I want to thank that guy that gave the prayer and mentioned Jesus, because Jesus never went on an Easter egg hunt or ate a slice of ham, just for the record. Anyway, now Yes, I agree with Bruce on the police, but we do have exceptions in our English language. And the exception is a guy named Mitchell Englander, a part-time pig from the city of Los Angeles, former council president pro tem. He went to prison for taking a bribe. Well, he went to prison for lying to the FBI agent, but he took bribes. He was on the Planning and Land Use Management Committee that decides construction projects in a very bribable committee. Yet he had a badge. And he was also with a group called Association of Independent Cities. But he never went to the meetings, according to Sean Ashton, the failed past president of the Association of Independent Cities. How come he never went? Well, he was too busy going to Las Vegas to get bribes from developers, money bribes, hotel room bribes, liquor bill bribes, pussy bribes. Yes, folks, that guy was a bad apple. And he was also on the Association of Independent Cities Board of Directors. And he cost the city of Los Angeles $75,000 to settle a sexual harassment complaint from a female employee. And his chief deputy at the time, John Lee, is now on the city council and one of those directors on the board of directors of the Association of Independent Cities. It's time to get rid of John Lee from the Association of Independent Cities. I guess bribery's okay. I guess sexual harassment's okay. Well, what kind of things happen? Well, you know, the office, a bunch of guys with dicks thought that the skirt was going to be a convenient piece of pussy, and it wasn't. Oh, she put out all right for her lawyer boyfriend. And we put out 75,000 taxpayer dollars to settle the complaint. And we don't, the whole irony, about a year ago, the city of Downey went to a convention with Association of Independent Cities, and two things they talked about: ethics and sexual harassment. Well, you can't have Mitchell Englander or Mitchell Englander Jr. on that board of directors and have the gall to ever mention those two items, especially when that person with John Lee as chief deputy cost us $75,000. I guess they must have said, hey, we want some pussy or something like that. And boy, did we pay for it. We paid for it with Mitchell Englander and his crony, his flunky John Lee.
Okay, Jose Gonzalez.
Buenas noches. ¿Puedo decir en español o no? ¿Sí?
Sí.
Ok. Yo estoy aquí, soy un ciudadano de Bell Gardens por 24 años y estoy aquí por una razón de que me gustaría que hicieran unas investigaciones de un oficial que anda quitando carros porque uno tiene las placas. Uno entiende que uno tiene que seguir la ley, pero tiene que seguir lo que es tener el sentido común. No es posible que en 4 días vaya y me dé 4 tickets y luego me esté amenazando que se va a llevar el carro. Y a un familiar también mío ya fue y sin previous warning se llevó el carro, llegó él y a los 3 minutos llegó una grúa. Entonces, si el concilio o el oficial, el jefe de oficial puede empezar a hacer una investigación que no está bien, o no sé si ustedes como concilio estén dirigiendo a los oficiales que hagan eso para agarrar recursos. Entonces me gustaría que se haga una investigación del oficial a 575 que va y amenaza a la gente que la próxima vez que mire ese carro se lo va a llevar, y no es la manera de hablarle a la ciudadanía. Me imagino que por eso tienen entrenamientos, y si no, pues tienen que ir a que se vuelva a reentrenar. No es la manera de hablarle a la ciudadanía y estar amenazando que le van a quitar los carros. Si uno no paga las placas es por un sentido, porque la economía está mal. No es que uno no quiera estar pagando las placas. Entonces, hay como 3 familias que ese oficial va y quita los carros y no está bien. Yo pienso que ustedes como concilio tienen que hablar con el jefe de policía y tienen que decir, ok, un ticket ahorita, un ticket en un mes, pero no el mismo día venga y dé 4 infracciones, digo, en 4 días de 4 infracciones y te esté amenazando, hostigándote que se va a llevar tus carros. Entonces, si por favor a todo el concilio pusieran atención a esto, lo pueden agregar en su agenda para los próximos meetings, se hable de esto, hablen con el oficial de policía, porque uno va y lo ignoran, uno llama y lo ignoran. Uno trata de hacer una un reporte de dos oficiales y nomás como se rinde uno. Entonces no es justo que uno está en esta ciudad, paga uno taxi en esta ciudad, uno ha aportado a esta ciudad mucho para que a ustedes como miembros del concilio o el jefe de policía no pongan atención a algo. Es injusto que vayan y quiten carros. O sea, yo entiendo que uno tiene que seguir lo que es la ley y pagar sus placas. Después de 6 meses lo pueden llevar, pero el oficial tiene que ir de una manera y decir, oye, disculpa, pon tu carro adentro o paga tus placas, pero no amenazándolo en el aspecto de que la próxima vez que te lo mire en la calle te lo voy a quitar. Esa no es manera. Les pido de favor a todo el concilio si pueden poner cárcel en el asunto, porque yo he ido, no la primera vez, al City Hall, a la Police Department a poner quejas y lo ignoran a uno. Por eso estoy aquí el día de hoy, después de 24 años de vivir en esta ciudad, porque uno está cansado que la policía no le hace caso a uno. Uno va y hace las quejas. A mí me han robado 3 veces en mi casa. Pon cámaras o muévete de ciudad. Esa no es la manera de que un oficial le responda a eso. Uno les llama para que patrullen y no van a esa área. Entonces, por favor, si les pido de favor como ciudadano de Bell Gardens, que si pueden agregar a su agenda o si pueden tomar caso en el asunto de eso. Muchas gracias.
Chief, just, he has expired tags. I believe maybe he was parking out on the sidewalk, but can you just assist him? I think they give him back-to-back citations. Okay, the last speaker is unidentified. There's no name. So if you submitted a comment card for non-agenda items, if you want to come forward.
Well, I'll read into the record what I exactly put on the card, a dirty nigger. Because in society, we realize that there are individuals like Micheline Glander from Los Angeles at one time was a dirty nigger. And in particular, there are other dirty niggers like Jose Luis Huizar, an elected official, who admitted to the guilt that he was a narcissistic councilman with a bad hands in the piggy bank and created a gentrification of shit in Los Angeles and throughout many of these cities. So I think I well put it for Olmo and Carl Warren, a dirty nigger, because you have to understand the true language and the significant understanding of these decisions in which I highlight a dirty nigger to save America. Because on item 13 of the agenda, we are speaking about housing. We are speaking about people who live on the street. We're speaking about people who can't afford to pay for their tags. We're hearing about situations of people not being able to make it. So this is what it says. How far is the nigger going to? Yeah, this is what we're going to do to the dirty niggers. A dirty nigger? Send the Jews back to Israel? Let's save them back to the Doubt Garden and save America? Let's go back to constitutional betterment, bury the niggers. We intend to do our part, give us our state rights, freedom for the rights, Brandenburg versus Ohio, US 395, 444, 1969. Now in Snyder versus Phelps, just remember, God hates the USA. Thank God for IEDs, fag troops, simplify fags, God hates fags. Maryland, Taliban, fag doomed nations, not blessed, just cursed. And how are we cursed? We are cursed because we see the homeless populations in our street that we as homeowners pay taxes and they're still on the goddamn motherfucking street. Thank you so much, Mayor Carrot Bass, you stupid ass, because you haven't put a dent with the $600 million a year that you plan to invest out of $1 billion to make this whole problem go away. So 42 USC 1983, fuck the mayor from Los Angeles and fuck all the other mayors that continue to ruin the lives of people in our society and not enforce a better measure to put people in homes and get them off the fucking street, not this temporary bullshit, Mr. Olmo, because Olmo, the attorney services, they make $800 to $1,200 an hour, and we're the ones getting porked by the goddamn attorneys that bend you over. Thank you, Madam. And where do I turn this in for the record?
To the chief.
I'll take it.
Sir. Dude.
Magdalena Blanco.
Buenas tardes, señores concejales. Gracias por atender mi petición. Yo vengo muy preocupada por el problema que nos está ahorita afectando a la mayoría de los residentes de la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Estamos pasando por una situación muy difícil sobre que aquí no se respeta el control de rentas. Los renteros simplemente se encargan de decir, mandar o hablar por teléfono, se les va a aumentar la renta. Pero hasta donde yo sé, aquí hay control de rentas, pero ellos no lo respetan. Hago un llamado a ustedes, señores concejales, que si fuese posible tratar de controlar o hacer un comité que apoye a todas las personas que pasamos por esta situación. Estamos desesperados, puesto que la situación económica ahorita para todos es muy difícil y como para que no lo apoyen a uno, pues se siente uno desesperado. Muchísimas gracias por su atención. Espero tenga voz y voto mi petición. Gracias, buenas noches.
Gracias, señora Blanco. Antes de que se vaya, puede dejar sus datos aquí con el señor Gas. Nuestro Departamento de Desarrollo Económico los apoya cuando su dueño no está siguiendo, o a lo mejor a veces no saben las reglas, pero cuando no la están siguiendo, ellos se encargan de comunicarse con ellos para que estén de acuerdo, ya que sí pasamos control de renta en esta comunidad. So, sí que dejar sus datos con él. Okay, that is the last in-person city clerk. I believe we have one on Zoom, but I want to say that this one is for agenda items. So I don't know if you want to ask first.
Thank you, Mayor. Zoom ID Maria Padilla, if you would please select the microphone icon. Thank you. Did you want to speak on a non-agenda item or on an agenda item?
Está fuera de la agenda.
Ok, le voy a poner para atrás hasta después.
No, señora María Padilla, ¿es un tema sobre la agenda o un tema que no está en la agenda?
She said it is.
She said fuera de la agenda.
Oh, well.
No está en la agenda.
Ok, si quiere comenzar su comentario.
Sí, buenas tardes a todo el concilio y a todas las personas que están ahí presentes. Mi nombre es María Padilla, soy residente de Bell Gardens y parte de la Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens. El día de hoy tuvimos un taller informativo para la comunidad y acerca del control de la renta. Asistió pues un buen número de personas y lo que pudimos darnos cuenta es que la mayoría vimos que están siendo acosados por los propietarios en aumentos de renta injustos y desalojos. Nosotros como Unión de Vecinas y parte de la comunidad queremos hacerles un pedido a ustedes de formar un comité de rentas para implementar la nueva ley de control de rentas, porque como lo comentó la señora que participó, no se está respetando. También estamos solicitando que informen a los residentes y sobre todo a los propietarios por medio de cartas de la nueva ordenanza. Y también un tema muy importante que están sufriendo mucho las personas de las casas móviles, quedaron fuera de lo que fue la protección de la ordenanza, y también estamos pidiendo que incluyan a este sector de la comunidad que también está sufriendo demasiado el acoso. Algunos han sido desalojados y quitados de su propiedad, de su tráiler. Entonces, queremos que ustedes como concilio nos apoyen a tratar de ayudar a este sector de la comunidad.
y sobre todo esta situación que está pasando en nuestra ciudad del acoso, del miedo, del aumento de rentas injustificado y el desalojo. Yo confío en ustedes, hemos confiado en ustedes siempre el tiempo y sabemos que nos van a ayudar para que la tranquilidad vuelva a la ciudad y que los propietarios puedan respetar esta nueva ley. Muchísimas gracias. Que pasen buena noche.
Gracias. Zoom ID, Cassandra Veloz, if you would please select the microphone icon to unmute yourself.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Pues igual mi tema no está dentro de la agenda y pues igual en apoyo a mis compañeras de la Unión de Vecinas y de gente que hemos estado escuchando, mi petición es la siguiente y es la misma que está diciendo esta Maripaz, que trate la ciudad de hacer un esfuerzo más competitivo para dar alcance a todos los dueños que estén registrados, para que se les envíe esa notificación sobre la ordenanza, para que la cumplan, porque así ustedes como ciudad se van a evitar muchísimos, van a evitar que las personas vayan a ustedes, porque una vez que los dueños se den cuenta que hay esta ordenanza, pues la tienen que acatar. Y sabemos que muchos dueños la están ignorando. Y muchos de ellos se están aborazando a acosar a las personas, a seguir aumentando en exceso. ¿Y qué es lo que tiene que hacer la gente? Pues tenemos que venir con ustedes. Es un proceso tedioso, es un proceso un poco estresante, tanto para los inquilinos y también es para los dueños. Pero si se pusieran a pensar un poquito que ustedes como ciudad tienen el alcance para que llegue esta ordenanza a los dueños y a toda la gente de Bell Gardens, pues es algo lógico que al tener algo así de la ciudad, pues no van a hacer caso omiso sobre esto. Y eso es lo que tratamos de que ustedes nos escuchen, de evitar todos estos percances. Yo en lo personal fui a pedirles ayuda y efectivamente la ciudad muy amable, muy me ayudó en mi caso de acoso y de aumento ilegal. Pero ¿cuántas de estas personas no tienen esa información? ¿O cuántos de estos dueños no les ha llegado esta información? Entonces ustedes, si hacen un poquito más de esfuerzo y de colaboración con sus residentes, podemos dar ese alcance de esta ordenanza para que se cumpla y para no tener que andar desgastándonos ni por una parte ni por otra en conflictos. Esa es mi petición el día de hoy. Gracias.
Gracias. Okay, Mayor, members of the council, that was the last speaker.
Thank you, City Clerk. At this point, if there's no objection by members of the City Council and Successor Agency, I will close public participation for non-agenda items.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to note the fact that we also did not receive any written comments. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. Now I'll go ahead and open public participation for agenda items. City Clerk, can you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you. The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker are limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber first.
Okay, the first speaker is Norma Vargas.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Norma Vargas. Estoy aquí, yo soy una vendedora de nieve. El jueves yo me pongo a la salida de los niños de la escuela. Llegó pienso que es code enforcement, y me movió. Entonces yo me moví y me puse en otro parking spot. Volvió a ir enseguida y me dijo, te dije que te fueras. Él era un hombre y una mujer. Y yo le dije, ¿por qué me estás moviendo a mí? Que yo tengo todos los permisos, pago mis taxes, pago la ciudad, pago salubridad, pago 2 salubridades, pago aseguranza, y aquí hay 3 eloteros en la puerta de la escuela y no los mueves ni les dijiste nada. Dijo, I only have 2 eyes and there's so much I can do. Esas fueron sus palabras. Dije, eres injusto. Y me dijo, los culpables son los council members. Ve con ellos. Aquí estoy. Es injusto. El jueves había 3, el viernes había 5 eloteros. Me mandaba hasta donde estaba la Chevron. Dijo, te tienes que ir 1000 pies. ¿A qué voy ya? Si ellos están en la puerta. Y nada más son 100 pies, no son 1000 pies. Ahora la mujer le dijo a una señora que yo ya le había dado nieve, ¿ya le pagaste? Dijo, no, vete, no le pagues. ¿Quién es ella para decir eso? Y luego si se arrimaban los niños mientras de que yo estaba hablando con el hombre, con el no sé qué sea. Ella en vez de decirle a los niños, no va a vender, ella le hacía así. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué entrenamiento tienen esas gentes? Y son groseros. Porque cuando llegó a hablarme, le voy a decir cómo me tocó la ventana. Así le hacen. Si las reglas son para mí, no nomás son para mí. Esa gente no paga nada. Y a ellos no los molestan en nada. Ahora vengo yo aquí por una respuesta, porque él me mandó con ustedes. Yo vine con la señora Emilia y ella me dijo, nada más son 100 pies. Y él me mandó 1000 pies. Ahora vengo con ustedes. Él me mandó con ustedes.
Disculpen, esa porción no le podemos contestar, pero Gus, can you take her information down? Aquí el director va a tomar su información para ver si la podemos asistir.
Es que ese es el problema, como no.
Gus, would you mind stepping out? I'm sorry. Okay, el siguiente comentario, sorry, English. The next comment is Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening again. I was here to talk about number 11, the permits for street vendors. Before I get started, I'd like to preface this, though, that I did not understand a word anybody was saying here, and I think there should be an interpreter here to interpret it into English and to interpret what I'm saying into English into Spanish, so the non-English speakers can understand every word I'm saying. Okay? Because
I'm sorry, order in the chambers, and we do have interpretation headsets. If you would need one, I believe they're right outside.
that go from English to Spanish and Spanish to English. Look into it.
Continue.
It's not a big deal. Not right now. Because English is the de facto official language of the United States. It is. Even Barbara Boxer recognized that. But for the permits, how many permits for street vendors have you issued this year? Does anybody know? I'm assuming you've issued 0. And there's a reason for that. Because you don't issue permits to street vendors. The county issues permits for street vendors. So I'm giving you a nugget there to understand what's going on. Okay. And do you know how many permits for street vendors the county has issued? Let's just say last year. There's an estimated 15 to 20,000 street vendors. Does anybody know how many permits the LA County has issued to street vendors? Nobody knows. I'll tell you the number. It's one. One. That's it. We went through this in Downey last year. I was blown away when I heard that. One permit. So they don't need to be on the street. You need to defend your brick and mortar businesses. You need to stop picking on them, roll back regulations, roll back taxes on them so their business can thrive and provide services and products to the people that need them at a reasonable price. Stop catering to these illegal street vendors and support the rule of law. And if you're going to support the rule of law, you need to start looking into other areas as well. So now we're talking about the permits of street vendors. One from LA County. Unbelievable. Thank you.
Mike Greenspan.
Mike Greenspan, a Bruin butt kicking Florida Gator. Maybe local governments should give out permits for street vending. Do you really trust that bimbo Janice Hahn or Holly Mitchell from the Board of Supervisors at the county to be competent enough to do a job like that? They can't even handle the county. They couldn't even open up the county board. Okay, if you're going to have street vending, at least have a minimum size sidewalk so people who are not window shopping can walk on the sidewalk, the purpose of the sidewalk. It would help. You don't have to be as wide as Telegraph Avenue in the lip service Socialist Republic of Berkeley, but you shouldn't be narrow like Alvarado Street in LA. Even if you have to use a parking lane to put merchandise out there so pedestrians can walk on the sidewalk. Now, local commission appointment list, you guys can remove. It's nice. It's a very good thing. In fact, Janice Hahn's brother appointed this idiot to chair the police commission. Jim Hahn appointed Rick Caruso, who missed 40% of the police commission meetings. Thank God Villaraigosa removed him. And of course, Jim Hahn, worst fucking mayor we ever had, only served one term. The other thing, affordable housing trust. Yeah, if we're building luxury apartments everywhere, and when you see the construction, it will have the apartment name and say luxury apartments. Nobody's going to go from living in a tent to a luxury apartment. There used to be these red, white, and blue wooden signs from Federal HUD. They would build housing. And the only supervisor that even knew what I was talking about was Holly Mitchell. The others were clueless about it. So maybe we should build affordable housing. And would you believe, I guess it was last week's San Fernando Valley Business Journal, a small article in the upper corner, a builder's going to actually build some low-cost housing. It makes the paper because we don't build it anymore. So maybe we should quit building luxury apartments and build affordable housing. Not just affordable for LeBron James and Steve Ballmer and Magic Johnson and Rick Caruso and Richard Riordan, but affordable for the people. I'm just tired of hearing the words affordable, and it's quite the opposite. It's unaffordable. Affordable housing, take a look at the tents on the street. That's affordable, right?
Okay, the next speaker card, these look like S's, so Nisser.
think it's spelled Nigger for the record, Madam Mayor, so pronounce it right. Nigger. That's what I am, a nigger. And I work on the sidewalk too, except I don't vend. I don't want to vend. I don't want to fucking work because that's what America is all about. It's all fucked up. Why do you want to work? Why the fuck do you want to work and hustle your ass for 10, 12 hours when some fucking nigger comes up to you and says you don't have a permit? Well, there was never permits in the beginning. And if you issued a permit from the Board of Supervisors, one in a fucking lifetime, guess what? You wouldn't have people in here getting emotional, explaining to you jackasses that they're having a hard time bending on the goddamn fucking sidewalk and street. So let them vend, help them out, get them to permit, find an affordable way to cover half the costs and provide that access of employment. Otherwise, we're never going to save America. You're going to be exactly what I said earlier, a dirty nigger. Send the Jews back to Israel. Because the only motherfucker in this world that's saving America is not the Jews, because they're in Palestine praying to Jesus over some fucking asshole tomb. You don't know where he died, and you say you're God-fearing? No, you're not God-fearing. God-fearing means help people who need to sell, make sales and sell. Help people get permits so they can sell. Help people go out of their way to get these goddamn permits. And the report on the gateway cities affordable housing, well, luxury apartments at $2,800 are not affordable. A nigger like me and a nigger that works can't afford $2,500 a month in some luxury fucking apartment that's nicely painted, that's nicely empty, and some fucking wetback like me can't get into it for no more or no less than $2,500 to $2,800 with a deposit. So that's how fucked up it is. That's why the attorneys to my side here, they can afford it. They're making $800 to $1,200 a fucking hour, jerking off our tax-paying dollars when you don't correct these settlements.
I'd like to remind you to
on the goddamn fucking agenda. Pardon me, ma'am?
please stay on topic.
Yeah, so I'm on 13 because I got a little off, sidetracked. But to receive public and private capital, administrative, local housing needs, well, a fucking tent and a temporary $1,300 voucher is not enough to get you off the fucking street permanently. We need people off the street all the time. We need them to be housed based on the $600 million fucking dollars that we're paying per year, according to Carrot Bass the ass, and then the other 5 asshole kings from the Board of Supervisors to delegate that money. Thank you.
The next speaker, there was no name. It's regarding street vendors, sidewalk vending update. And this is the last comment card, so if you submitted one, this is probably yours.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. My name is Stephanie Tinoco. I'm here on behalf of Maria Teresa Zacarias. You may know her. She's the owner of El Zarape Michoacano, over by Gage and Jaboneria. This topic is a very sensitive topic because there are a lot of people like this wonderful woman right here, where she has her own business and she has all her permits in order, and yet she's the one being shunted off the street. And yet the actual people who are causing the real problem are still operating all on Florence. I saw maybe 5 of the booths in a row on Florence one day, and they're all on the same street. And I know that for businesses like restaurants, there's only a certain number amount allowed per square mile, right? I assume. So why are the street vendors not regulated in the same way? There's also not a level playing field for all of us. We pay health permits, payroll, rent, gas, light, electricity, water, and yet they don't pay these same expenses. And I don't see anything on their IRS or tax forms. Whereas we abide by all these laws and we have this extra setback, whereas we're the backbone of this economy. We help this economy grow. We hold Bell Gardens up. Small businesses do that. It's all agreed. We all know this. And yet we're the ones that are having all these setbacks and they're getting this free start. where they don't have to pay all these expenses. Now, I'm not saying take all of them off the street. I came from the street. My mom used to sell camotes in a shopping cart when I was 9 years old. I was charging them at 9 years old. We've had this business for 11 years. I don't want to get them off the street. I simply want them regulated. I want all of us to be on an equal playing field. There's enough business for everybody, and the one who works the hardest is going to have the most successful business. I just want all of us to be on an even playing field. All of us deserve the same opportunities, and we should all pay the same expenses. As far as I'm aware, they've just taken control completely. So there's so many of them on the same street. They're polluting the air. They're just leaving a bunch of wastes. And not only are they able to give their food cheaper because they don't pay these expenses, so it puts us at an extreme disadvantage. I have my employees who sometimes I've paid them late or a week late because my sales in the evening are not what they used to be. And I know it's not because of the quality of my food, because in the morning we do great. It's in the afternoon where all these street vendors, and sometimes I set up a block or 2 blocks away from my business. So there should be an area where they're put so that they're not in the way of other businesses that are working hard to keep the community uplifted. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last in-person comment card. City Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
No, we do not, and we didn't receive any written communication.
Thank you. At this point, if there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will go ahead and close public participation for agenda items. Moving on to City Manager, will you please give your report?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. I'll be brief. I just want to make a mention again. We have a farmer's market on Friday at Veterans Park from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're really excited for the springtime coming. Hopefully to see this market just continue to grow. Also want to mention this Monday is President's Day. City Hall will be closed in observance of that holiday. And the last thing I'll mention is the Community Family Services Center is hosting another mental health workshop on Saturday, February 25th at 10:30 a.m. And this one is focused on dealing with the stages of grief and loss. So that's something that all of us deal with it as humans. So, and there's also going to be a prize for those that sign up. So if you're wondering how to sign up, you can go on our calendar, just search Google Bell Gardens calendar, click on February 25th, and you'll get the information there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. We're going to go ahead and move on to consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve the consent calendar. May I have a second?
I'll go to second.
Okay, Councilmember Chavez seconds. City Clerk, roll call vote.
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido, Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor and Chair Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to discussion item, City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 10?
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is the local commission's appointment list. So it's staff's recommendation at this time that if any of the members of the council have a commissioner that they'd like to appoint for the rest of the council's consideration, now would be the time to do so. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, is there any additional appointments? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and motion to receive and file. May I have a second? Second by Barcena. Roll call.
Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Chavez,
He stepped away.
Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
That is a yes for me. And Councilmember Chavez is back. We're just motioning to receive and file the local appointments list.
That'll be a yes.
Motion carries. City Manager, discussion item number 11.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is a sidewalk vending update. Obviously, we've heard some public comment regarding the item. Before I turn it over to Gus Romo, our Community Development Director, Just want to acknowledge a few things. The city updated the sidewalk vending ordinance back in 2021. During that time, it was a COVID environment. There wasn't a lot of in-restaurant type activity going on. A lot of things had moved outside. The ordinance, since that time, there are a couple components of that ordinance that are not enforceable, just specifically related to confiscation or impounding or lien of equipment from a sidewalk vendor. Also, since that time, I think in the last 6 to 9 months, maybe 12 months, there has been an increase in the number of sidewalk vendors that exist here in the city of Bell Gardens. And that's acknowledged by staff. And then also last week, there was some news that was out there regarding the issue as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Romo. He'll talk about a little more about the background, the existing ordinance, and things that have occurred and things that could occur going forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gus. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Okay, thank you, sir. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, we bring this update to you because of the recent concerns that have come to light to the city, Code Enforcement Department, and Community Development Department. So as our city manager was stating, Council approved the sidewalk vending ordinance number 914 back in May of 2021, became effective June 24th. And this was in response to state law, Senate Bill 946, which became effective January 1st of 2019. That is the bill that decriminalized sidewalk vending by defining what a sidewalk vendor was or is, and also establishing regulations under which they could legally operate. And this is statewide. Now, since the adoption of the city's ordinance, staff has heard concerns from both the brick and mortar businesses, in other words, the retail shops out there, as well as the hot food vendors, not so much from the flour vendors or other type of vendors, but the hot food vendors have had concerns that county health department is too restrictive. It is very hard to get a license for instance, a food vendor that cooks hot food out there that needs a washing facility, that needs refrigeration, et cetera. So they've been trying to find ways to make that an easier process. Now, on the other hand, the brick and mortar businesses have had concerns with the city not enforcing those vendors that do not have a health department permit. They feel that the public is at risk because they themselves have to make sure they have their health department inspections done, everything in order to be able to sell their food. And yet they feel that the hot food vendors are not held under the same scrutiny. But at the same time, the hot food vendors have wanted to get a business license. They cannot do that though, because they have to have their health department permit first. So there's a bit of a catch-22 there. So what we're doing today is we're bringing this to you for direction in terms of the enforcement. Currently, there are a total of about 30 sidewalk vendors out there that code enforcement has identified. And out of those 30 sidewalk vendors, only 13 are licensed. There's 10 fruit vendors and 3 flower vendors. The 17 unlicensed vendors, from what we see, comprise of 10 taco stands and 7 tamale and corn vendors. Now, the primary concern from the brick and mortar restaurants is not over the tamale and corn vendors. Their concern is more the taco vendors that set up in front of them. They feel that they're supportive of the vendors. They just want those vendors to be located a little bit away from their business, not directly in front. Unfortunately, state law does not restrict that location. About a year ago, city staff made a presentation to the Gateway Cities Council of Governments and brought this issue up because we were getting a lot of that concern from the businesses. Other cities were bringing up the same concern. We talked to state representatives about amending this law to adopt locational criteria. However, when the law was amended this past year, that locational criteria was not identified. The state did not want to add that to the new law. Therefore, even if permitted, the brick and mortar businesses are still going to have an issue with businesses that are like them being located directly in front of them, because they believe that those businesses are doing it on purpose because they're trying to attract the customers that would otherwise be going into that restaurant. Same thing with the flower shops. Of course, if you have a flower vendor that can outsell you maybe half the price than you get it at the flower shop, but they're sitting right in front of you, they feel like they're going to steal your customers. But again, that's something that we still have to discuss with the state representatives and determine if there needs to be that locational criteria. So just in conclusion, well, one other topic to bring up is the sidewalk vendor hours of operation. The current ordinance states it's from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and that's similar to a regular restaurant. The only restaurants that have identified restrictions under a conditional use permit is if they sell alcohol. So at that point, the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control also identifies a restriction in terms of hours. So right now, if the council wanted to amend the ordinance at a future date to allow vendors to go beyond the 10 p.m., that is a possible way to go in terms of amending the ordinance. So just in conclusion, these concerns have arisen since the state's enactment of the Vendor Sidewalk Act, SB 946, and also the city's adoption of its own ordinance. And no locational criteria exists right now. There's health department requirements that hot food vendors feel are very restrictive and unattainable and also very costly. So until state law is further amended, it's recommended that the city council revisit ordinance 914 and also direct staff to continue monitoring enforcement and ensure that sidewalk vendors are in compliance with local and state law. And I'm here to also tell you that as staff, we are here to support both our businesses, our brick and mortar businesses, and our local vendors. If any vendor comes to me saying, hey, I'd like your help in terms of trying to get this permit through the health department, I'd be happy to take them through the process and hold their hand, just as we've done with rental assistance and so forth. So I just want to put that out there. If there's any other questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Councilman Barcena.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Gus, I just have a question. So in regards to changing the hours of operation, I'm guessing the reason for that being brought up is primarily because of the taqueros that are setting up beyond 10 p.m.
That's correct. My understanding is that their best time of operation is in the evenings, and sometimes they go beyond 10 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Briefly, Gus, I know that since we touched this last time, there's been another law that went into effect about street vending, SB 972. By any chance, do you have any update in regards to that or how that changes the street vending policy?
That is something that we have talked to our city attorney, and Susie Altamirano is here to be able to answer that.
Yes, council member. So 972 is a regulation for the counties to enforce, for LA County to enforce specifically. As of now, they have not adopted a policy addressing 972. So it has a limited applicability to the cities. So in the case here for the city of Bell Garden, the applicability would be for the exemption for 972, SB 972, which is the mobile food vendors that are less than 25 feet. The city can provide a policy for that. But other than that, 972 is very limited as far as how it applies to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did have the pleasure of meeting with several of our businesses this week to hear them out and hear more so what they're going through, the losses that they've endured. I just want to thank you all. There's some of which are here today. I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me and to let me know what's going on with your businesses, what issues are you having. I asked for this item to be on the agenda because I think it's important that as a council we address it so that both we could be helpful to our brick and mortar businesses and at the same time, support our street vendors, because I think our community is not against street vendors, right? But we are, I think, worried about the health and safety of our community. So today I do want to give direction on several aspects. So one, I do want education and notice to be given to our businesses, sorry, not our businesses, our street vendors, so that they are aware that we do require permits in the city. Well, the state requires a health permit and the city does require the city permit I do want also training for our code enforcement officers as well as any other staff that's doing enforcement on this issue so that we don't run into issues like the public comment that was mentioned earlier. I also want to give direction for us to update the ordinance, the street vending ordinance, so we could be fully compliant with the state. And I also want for us to complement this movement by reaching out to our higher elected officials to continue the work that you had already done, Gus, with regards to locality, maybe advocating, showing them what this policy truly means on the ground for our local communities and the problems that it's causing, because as was mentioned in one of our public comments, our brick and mortar is the backbone of our economy, especially also here in the city of Bell Gardens, and we want to help and aid them, but we also want to be fair and just to everyone and to be fully compliant with the law. And lastly, I do want a shop local campaign so that we can support our brick and mortar, maybe through our social media pages. I know we don't have an official chamber of commerce here, but maybe we can start a movement within our community development department so that we can promote them, promote our wonderful owners, because they're people like us and they're the American dream. So to show the faces and show, you know, what amazing food they have to offer in their businesses, maybe on a given Tuesday, one of them wants to have a special that we can promote, something of that sort, so that we can revamp our local economy and support them as much as possible. And I think that is it for my direction. Thank you, businesses, for being here and for always being willing to work with the city. We'll try as much as possible to help resolve this issue and to be fair and just with everyone. Any other?
Mayor, I have a question, just for clarification. In the direction that the mayor gave, she mentioned getting up to date with the state law. I just need clarification on that. What does that entail? Is that related to the hours, or what part of it?
So and just to give you clarification, I believe he mentioned there's a new bill that came in place where several provisions of our current ordinance can no longer be enforced, such as the confiscating, so on and so forth. And just to ensure that we are fully compliant with every single item, that it aligns with the state. And then I think maybe you can bring us options of language or things that are problematic to the entire council, and we can decide at that point.
Yes, and I've also spoken with our city attorney, Susie, regarding one of the items that was done under, I believe it was 946, SB 946, had to do with the size of the carts. And overall, I know our city attorney can speak more to that, but it was an effort to make it easier for the hot food vendors to get their health department permits. Susie, would you like
Right.
to-
So first, to address your question, council member, to be updated would remove any liens or confiscation of property. So that would be compliant with the state. And then as far as the hot food vendors, that goes back to SB 972. It provides a streamlined process. Again, we're waiting for the county to speak to that, how they're going to do that. However, for those under, if the exemption applies, they're under 25 feet, the city can provide a policy that has a permitted process.
Thank you for clarifying. I do have a question. So obviously we have a lot of our members from the community, from the local restaurants here. And if I was one of them, I would like to know what is going to be done. I guess sooner rather than later. I know that some of these things that we're talking about now, they will take time, right? But if I was one of these community members, I would like to have an idea of what's going to be done like next week, or is that something that maybe the city manager or the director can speak on?
Yes, Councilmember Barson. I can kind of tell you what we've already done previous to, I guess, last week, a couple weekends ago. We don't have a lot of coverage on the weekend. We do have some coverage. So we use some of that time to go out and talk to street vendors of all kinds. I think that's where Gus got some of his numbers as well too. And basically just gave verbal instructions to any vendors that were out there that didn't have their business license. Oftentimes they don't have the business license because they don't have the public health certificate, which is probably going to be difficult for them to get, to let them know that they weren't in compliance. And my understanding is that those vendors that were told that generally left, but realistically probably came back. I mean, we didn't have around the clock coverage. We're not asking the police department probably for obvious reasons to enforce that municipal code. So the plan going forward would be to, with what I'm hearing from the council, from the direction, and also just from the community, is to, take more active enforcement measures. So currently, we'll just say, hey, you don't have a business license. Here's the reason you can't be here. And that's the end of it. We obviously have the ability to provide more information, to issue notice of violations, and also to issue administrative citations. Those are things that we already have the authority and the ability to do that are in the municipal code that we're already supposed to be doing. So those are things that we would be doing going forward. We'd be issuing notice of violations at a minimum to let people know in writing, you're not in compliance with the municipal code. Give them an information that we can provide that may help them become compliant. If they don't, and they're still out there and we go out again 2 nights later or the following weekend, we would issue an administrative citation. There are fines associated with that. I think $100 for the first fine, and then it ramps up to, I think, $500 on the third fine. Beyond that, the next level of enforcement would be to contact LA County Public Health. They will show up, but at that point, we would have to have a police officer assigned. Otherwise, County Public Health will not show up. They have the ability to confiscate food, not equipment, but they can actually take food. I think there are instances where they have done that. I think our hope would be that we don't have to go to that level, that this additional level of enforcing the municipal code as it already stands would help to alleviate some of these issues, if not eliminate it completely. But the idea would be to put more resources to it immediately, like in the next week or two, to see if we can get voluntary compliance there. And then at the same time, obviously, we will be coming back with based on the direction that's provided, with a public hearing for the ordinance to revise it to at minimum clean up things that are not compliant with state law currently. So if it's not in compliance with state law, we don't follow it, even if it's a municipal code anyways, but to clean it up administratively and also potentially allow for other changes that the council may have at that time.
Yes, and I think the enforcement piece, more importantly, is for the health and safety of our community. Currently, as you heard the statistics, none of the actual, well, besides elotes and tamales, none of the other food vendors are compliant with health and safety permits. In the city of Bell Gardens, we require the health and safety permit prior to issuing the city permit, and our permit is inexpensive. We're not sure how much, well, I'm not sure how much the fees are for the county, but I think, if you do want to be a working street vendor, the minimum that we're asking for is just a health and safety permit. So just for our community, know that none of the current businesses or none of the current street vendors have a permit, and nor have they come to us because we require that one prior to issuing the city one. So enforcement, I think, will be a key part of this.
One last thing, Mayor, if I may. I want to say thank you for giving direction in regards to the training for our officers that are out there. I appreciate that, because as we heard from some of our residents today and business owners, they had a negative experience when dealing with us as they're reporting. So I think that element of training and really kind of making sure that we're providing high quality customer service to our residents is really important, whether it's from the business side or the other side, right? So it goes both ways. So I appreciate that as far as your motion goes, Mayor, and I definitely support it. Thank you. That is a second.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So briefly, I just want to touch on regarding the street vendors that are actually permitted. So just for clarification, are any of the taqueros permitted?
No, sir.
Okay. So if we go back to the drawing board and this passes, who's gonna be in charge of going out and telling all the taqueros, hey, you have to leave now? Is it gonna be code enforcement or PD?
Well, that's even before, I think I just want to make it clear, I think for the council member, that the enforcement that we're talking about is for practical purposes, other than maybe some time changes in that, it's the existing enforcements that's there, which is code enforcement, not the police department, unless we had to go to the public health side of things. But I just want to make it clear that the enforcement would happen prior to some kind of administrative revisions to the ordinance.
Yes.
So code enforcement is going to enforce this, right? And I know we mentioned coverage during the weekend every so often, but do we have someone working around the clock?
We've had
Because a lot
help
of these
also from our CSOs from PD on this. So that's something we've talked about when code enforcement is not available.
But I think the short answer is no, right? It's the similar type of enforcement issues that you would have with law enforcement or traffic or parking. We obviously currently don't have code enforcement resources to have around the clock coverage. So if they were to issue an administrative citation to somebody at 9 p.m. on a Saturday, and then their allotted time is to, go home at 10 o'clock, and a vendor were to come back out again, there could be some missing coverage there. So we're going to have to talk about resources and the issue too. If you look at the numbers that Gus mentioned, it's not 150, 180 vendors. I think it's two hands and maybe one toe or something, or 1 foot that we could count on. So if we put some extra effort in, and we're trying to do it from a kind of progressive and informational perspective, I think we'll have a good idea whether we need to come back and ask for additional resources at that time.
The reason I had asked was because if I'm a business and if I see a street vendor, set up, a taquero per se, and obviously I know that taquero is not permitted to sell in the city, who can I call to say, hey, this is happening right now. Can someone come and tell this person they can't literally be here and they're stealing business from me? Like what does a business do in that case?
Yeah, so for practical purposes with the resource we have currently, since we're not involving PD with purposeful intent, and unless we were to potentially increase enforcement to our community services officers, we have more resources there. They'd obviously have to work overtime in that. They basically have to call community development, and it wouldn't be like a 911 response, to be fair. That's not to say that can't happen with, kind of council direction and resource allocation to that. But admittedly, that wouldn't be the enforcement approach that we would initially take. So the plan would be to schedule code enforcement to go out at times when they are most likely to engage street vendors that are out there that are probably unlicensed. So whether that be a Friday night or Saturday night, but the likelihood that, every Friday, every Saturday night at 12:30 a.m., I guess that's in the morning, if somebody calls, they give us the information, and then most likely, okay, hey, we're going out tomorrow or going out the next day. We'll go to that location and see if we can identify who the vendor was, to at least engage them, potentially issue a citation, and then try to help them out to the extent we can.
Mike, if I can add on to that, if you don't mind, the individual or the business could also call the county as well. That's an option.
And then I do want to differentiate between a street vending issue versus a right-of-way issue and a trespass issue, or an issue where a street vendor is not on public sidewalk, that they're actually on private property. That's different. Is that correct? For that, it would be police, but it's not a street vending issue. That would be a trespass issue.
Yeah, so we would be talking about enforcing street vending that's on the public right of way. That's where we would deal with the vendor directly. If the street vendor is on private property with the knowledge of the owner of the private property. So let's say somebody owns a strip mall and they have, temporary street vendors in their parking lot, and they're not permitted to do so. We would issue the citation to potentially to the property owner. If they're on the property owner's property, if somebody sets up a street vending establishment in somebody's front yard, then potentially the police department would get involved because they'd be trespassing. I'm using an egregious example, but that could also happen, at a business location as well too.
And also if they're blocking intersections or ramps for handicap, correct? That would.
Yeah, so that's where I think, and I know that the chief and our community development director will look into it, but I think some of the comment that came out, generally speaking, the engagement would be from code enforcement, unless there's some other public safety issue, and I'm not saying that's what happened because I don't know the facts of it, but if somebody were blocking traffic or blocking an intersection, they may be encountered by a peace officer that's beyond code enforcement. If it was a public safety issue, blocking street sign view or something like that. Incidentally, that could occur, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez.
Yes.
And Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to discussion item number 12.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This item is regarding Civic Center turf conversion process. So the council may know we own the property that's on the eastern side of the library. There's a big grass area there. And then if you follow along Florence Place and then up Garfield along City Hall, past the police department and including the police department parking lot, it's all primarily grass there. You'll notice the grass is doing okay because of the rain, but we're currently not allowed to water that grass. And most likely the summer is going to come and we won't be allowed to water that grass continuing on probably until whenever, if ever, the drought subsides. So we have the opportunity to do a turf renovation where we basically take out all of the grass, calling it turf here, and replace it with crushed granite and drought tolerant planting, where about 95% of the cost is covered by the Central Basin Water District. The part of the cost that would not be covered by them, where Grisel will talk about here, we would actually hire the design firm that's doing some work potentially on our aquatic center to at least give it a design that's not just what I would call very desert and sparse looking. So that's the project we're looking at. I'll turn it over to Grisel at this point in time to give you more information and then also seek direction on whether or not we want to pursue this this turf replacement program or not. If the answer is yes, we think we can do it in a way by hiring a design firm that will look a lot nicer than what you might otherwise expect. I'll turn over to Grisel at this point if there's anything left to say. Thanks, Grisel.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. And I'll quickly go through this. Mike has shared a lot of the background. So we have been working with Central Basin Municipal Water District to see what type of funding might be available to our city to convert the existing turf that we have not been watering since June of last year, 2022, due to the state drought orders that have been enacted and are in place until June of this coming year, 2023. We don't know what will happen after that time, if the restriction on watering that type of turf will still be in place, but due to the state still being in a drought, technically we anticipate it may still continue past June, in the effort of continued water conservation. So everything that includes the removal of the turf, the installation of irrigation, installation of material like decomposed granite or wood mulch and the plant material, educational signage, all of that is covered by Central Basin when we apply for their rebate program. So that's roughly a cost of $134,000 to cover the three areas: City Hall, the Police Department, Library, and the Resource Center. And so with developing a design that's going to be aesthetically pleasing and well thought out and really going to be something to be proud of and highlight for our community to come and look and see the Civic Center area being renovated with this drought tolerant look and water conservation, the city setting the example, right? We wanted to have an architect come up with renderings and a design that we can present to council at a future meeting. And that would be as soon as the first meet in March. I spoke with the consultant, and that's something that they can develop if council approves this evening. So that would be at a cost of about $6,000. And we would present the designs. And then if council approves the design or has any other comments or direction, we would then either submit the application to Central Basin or not submit it. And so that's the direction staff is seeking for this evening. Do we move forward with the project? And do we proceed with having an architect design renderings to bring to council at a future meeting? And then the application to Central Basin, if it is submitted, would be turned around rather quickly. By April, we would receive notice if it was approved, which is very likely. And I'm sorry, do you have a question? Oh, sorry. And then the amendment to the landscape contract that the city has would be brought forward for council as well, so that work can be start and completed by the end of the summer. And so just an example of what the renderings would look like, and they would be a lot nicer and more sophisticated than what was put together here. This was done with the help of our landscape contractor who had limited GIS design available, but anyway, just to show council, to show the placement of plants and the material with the different types of ground covering. So that concludes my report. And at this time, we're asking for council's direction on the proceeding with the turf conversion project and approving the appropriation of the general fund monies for $6,000 to have the renderings completed.
And Grisel, just to clarify for the council, so if the direction provided were yes to both of these, we would spend the $6,000 for nice rendering schematics that are more sophisticated than what we provided here. And then the council could still say, no, we don't really like any of those. And I would make an argument that the money's not wasted because those plans could be set aside where there may come a point 12 months, 18 months, 24 months where you'll see that the grass is just so dead and we haven't been able to water it that you may say, bring those plans back and let's do the work. So there will still be a chance for the council, if we spend the $6,000, there'll still be a chance for the council to see everything and then tell us hold off at that point or to tell us to proceed, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Questions, comments from the council?
Thank you so much for the presentation, Grisel. I like the idea. I think that, seeing the state of our condition of our state, the drought's still here. It's not going to go anywhere, right? And I think it's up to our cities to start, adapting to the new reality of it, right? There's a conference that we all go to, or most cities go to, and it's out there by Indian Wells, Palm Springs. And I look at their city halls out there and they're very drought resistant, right? They've gotten accustomed, they've seen the effects. So, I like the approach. I think it's something that it looks good. I can't wait to see the new renderings, but I like the idea. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the council? Motions?
I can go ahead and make a motion to follow staff recommendation.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay, roll call vote.
Thank you. Members of the Council on Successor Agency, Marcena,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes. Motion carries. City Manager, item number 13.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item, I will also turn over to Gus Romo here in a moment. It's a report on a Gateway Cities Affordable Housing Trust. What we're really looking for is just to get clarification from the council and to provide information to the council regarding this Affordable Housing Trust. There's some cost associated with us joining this JPA. And there are pros and cons to joining it. We want to make sure the council understands that before moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Gus. Thanks, Gus. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is just a receive and file, but as Mike has pointed out, we are asking for direction on future participation with the Gateway Cities Housing or Affordable Housing Trust. So as you know, there will be a joint powers agreement that each city will be asked to approve. Right now, that agreement is not before you. So again, this is just information that we'd like to provide you. So as you all know, the Gateway Cities COG was formed back in 1996. It's a 27-member council of governments that's made up of 27 cities and unincorporated communities in LA County. And ultimately, there was a joint powers agreement that was created or adopted, I should say, to create the COG. Now, back in summer of 2022, the COG formed a trust steering committee in order to look at a housing fund to collect monies for future housing development, and I should say future affordable housing development. The steering committee unanimously recommended the formation of this fund. and was looking to seek membership from all of the cities. I mean, if they could, they'd have all 27 as part of this. Some cities may choose not to be part of it, while other cities may. You've got to really weigh the pros and the cons, which is something that we wanted to provide to you in this report. So the trust was formed with a broad mission and vision statement. When you look at the mission statement, it says to finance the development of affordable housing in the region and thereby increase the supply of housing to low, moderate income individuals and families. So the goals and objectives are to be able to serve the underserved communities, the vulnerable populations. Because as you know, housing is not affordable here in Bell Gardens and in Southeast LA. We're trying to figure out ways to bring more affordable housing. We have one project that's going to be coming before you, a former redevelopment site with 100 affordable housing units. And that was made possible through the Surplus Land Act process. So what this fund would do is be able to collect monies. There's a membership fee. Each city would pay $15,000 if you have a population of under 60,000. And this money would grow. They'd also be going after monies, state and federal monies to collect additional revenues to be able to get a project ready to build. Now, when you look at the pros and the cons, we just wanted to make sure that you understood that by becoming a member and putting money into this fund does not guarantee that your project is going to be approved. That's up to the steering committee board, or I should say the board that's created by the steering committee. Ultimately, when they look at the region, they're going to find available projects that might be already entitled and shovel ready. You did a really good job in doing this for your last housing element cycle. And then you also went through and adopted a general plan and zoning consistency update that gave you mixed use zoning and additional available land to be able to do affordable housing. So now within these mixed use zones, you can actually do housing. It doesn't just have to be retail, for instance. So the city is in a good position to be able to attract more housing in the future. So with that in mind, the city's membership would help us create the ability to bring in funds for that affordable housing, to be able to subsidize perhaps some developers in the future. But keeping in mind that it's not a guarantee that whatever housing project you bring forward is going to be selected by that board. And also, if the city later on decides, you know what, this isn't for us, we're going to withdraw, those monies that you've put into the fund are not refundable. So they stay with the fund. And it could be later on that you give this a shot, let's say for 3 to 5 years. And then you say, hey, how's this going? Is this something that is helping us create affordable housing projects in the city? Or maybe it's not. At that point, you can decide. So again, this is just a receive and file. When you look again at the fiscal impacts, the contribution won't start until July 1st, 2024. But your membership, they're going to ask you for approval of the joint powers agreement before then. That'll be coming to you at a future date. There's also an ability for City of Bell Gardens to be on that board. So there's going to be, boy, I want to say there's a total of 7 representatives, but I'm not sure exactly at this time. I don't have that information here. But again, the city would maintain the right to withdraw from that JPA anytime, just keeping in mind that money would not be refundable. So if there's any other questions, I'm here to answer them. And I can also provide you a copy of the agreement at a later time.
Gus, so when would we anticipate bringing the item? I think what we're looking for now, if there was like a hard no, we don't want to spend $15,000 to be part of this trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. If we don't have that from the council, when will we be bringing the actual document, the JPA document for this trust? Would it be in the next 3 months or so?
They're still working on finalizing the agreement. There's some cities that have already said, I believe there's 4 that have said, yes, we do want to be a part of this. So when it's brought before us, we're going to go ahead and approve it. Right now, we'd like for you to just look more into it in terms of saying, hey, is this something that I really want to do? Maybe talk to your representatives at the COG. I can get you that additional information, maybe the draft agreement. But at this point, it's just to give you that information up front, to be able to say, yes, is this something that you're even interested in? Maybe it's not, like our city manager is saying. Maybe you're thinking $15,000 a year. No, we'll pass on that. Let's not waste our time on this. But if there's still questions that you have, we can go ahead and get those answered for you and get you a copy of that agreement.
Questions?
Real quick, Gus, I'm curious to know, what are the 4 cities that have already accepted it?
I want to say, was it Downey and, I don't want to guess, sir. I know there's 4 cities in Southeast LA though. I just don't know which ones they are for certain.
Okay, thank you.
If we're being asked for direction to look more into it, I personally feel like it's worth looking into it. Some of the things that I would like to know is, based on our demographics, what do our chances look like as far as benefiting from this? Another thing is, just from what we were talking about earlier today when Congress member Garcia stopped by, we are one of the most densely populated cities in the Southeast, right? I think the only other one that's more populated is probably Maywood. It's more densely populated. We are sort of built out, but I don't know if that's necessarily a negative thing when considering this potential trust, because we probably need to have creative ideas as far as building house, because we're already packed. So in my opinion, there's a lot of worth in just looking into it, but I kind of want to hear what the rest of the council has to say if anybody wants to share.
Adding on to that, to Councilmember Barcena, I think there's a lot of opportunity joining programs like this, right? Because, look at the indicators that our community is made up, right? Rental majority population, low income, young population as well. I think our median age is between late 20s, early 30s, give or take. And I think that shows a lot of flags for people who sit on steering committees, who sit on trust boards and whatnot at the county or at the regional level. So I think that there's a great benefit, especially if we have future plans of redevelopment of our downtown, of, I just saw in our housing element, I think it was a housing element, where we added a new designation as C4 or something, or C5, I think. R5, my bad, R5, R4, very highly dense within areas like Down Gage and Eastern and Florence. So I think in the future, if we've had conversations about, changes in the city and whatnot, I think, right off the bat, key indicators that our city has, our data, are where we stand as a geographical location throughout the county as to compared cities like maybe are on the outskirts of the county, like, perhaps Cerritos or Artesia that are very on the edge of the county. We're right in the center, right? We got the casino right here, 12 miles away from downtown LA, give or take. There's great opportunity of being a part of these programs. And I'd say worst comes to shove, if it's not our community, I mean, it's the regional area around the rest of the cities, right? I know we mentioned Maywood, another highly dense population, but I know constantly communities, people move from here to there and there from here. Yeah, that's my opinion on how I see this. I know that there's another board being created at the county level, and that's called La CASA, Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency. And I think it's going to have a similar sort of approach when it comes to affordable housing, along with creating a rental program for the whole county of LA. So similar opportunities, but again, I think that our indicators right off the bat signify great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think for myself, I would want more information. And if you could get us a copy of that agreement and just more information in terms of what we're getting for our money.
I do have one quick question, but I'm sorry, I think council member.
I have a question. So just to understand, in order for us to get more information about this topic, we would need to invest $15,000, or could we get information, study that, and then make a decision?
Yes, we can get that information for you. The reason we didn't put it as part of this is because we didn't want you to think that you were actually adopting an agreement tonight. So our city attorney and I spoke about that. So we removed the item from the agenda. But I would like to bring that forth to you. And some of these questions I'd like to get answered by the steering committee. And as our mayor was saying, there's a next meeting that's coming up with a COG to discuss this with our city managers and our planning directors. So we will be able to pose those questions to them. But ultimately, you do not need to invest the 15,000 to get those questions answered. No, we'll answer those questions before you decide to become a part of it.
So investing the 15,000 would get us the opportunity for essentially this research entity to help us find funds for affordable housing? Is that what we're looking at?
15,000 membership would put you in line for trying to come up with a project that will be subsidized with this money. So for instance, you've put yourself in a good position because of your housing element and because of the zone and general plan amendments that you've done for the higher density. As Council Member Chavez was saying, we now have an R4 zone. We also have through state law, the ability to put housing within certain commercial zones. So nowadays you don't have to be in a residential zone to be able to be allowed residential development. And the state purposely did this because they want to really promote more housing out there.
And I think, Councilmember Polito, I think also, kind of talking with Gus about it, potentially the idea would be is if you contribute, there may be a project that we otherwise wouldn't qualify for to be able to get subsidized. And so it probably wouldn't happen in Bell Gardens. And in this case, there's more emphasis, power behind this JPA, where they may be able to secure subsidized funding that would then entice somebody to come and build an affordable project that we wouldn't be able to do on our own. And those are the questions I think that are going to come up I think it was Councilmember Barson mentioned, we're pretty near built out. So it would have to be in some cases for projects where there already exists some kind of other use. So those are the things that we really need to look at. And we would just kind of want to give you an advanced view of that there's enough obvious challenges there where, you might just give us direction and say, this doesn't sound like it's going to make any sense. I don't see anything happening, but that'd probably be a little bit premature at this point, I think.
Can we get some examples of what these projects would be?
Absolutely, yes.
And then who would be on the board?
We don't know who's going to be on the board yet.
So it's not the member cities that buy
Oh, no,
in?
the city member, yeah, that is correct. The member cities are going to be the ones that are going to be representing that board.
But I think what Gus is saying is if there are 20 member cities, there may only be 7 seats on the board,
Correct.
right? So
Yes.
then our next challenge would be is if we're contributing funds, I think normally we would want to have a
Want
seat
to
on
be
the
on the board.
on the board. So that may be the next challenge as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to add that we need to make sure we have a seat at that table and continually advocate for our city when it comes to affordable housing, and make sure that, whoever is on that seat is able to gain the support of the rest of the colleagues on that, whatever 7 or 9 board membership. But if it's going to be comprised of gateway cities, I mean, that's 27 cities, 27, 28, give or take. Yeah, we need to have a seat on that
Yeah, so
board.
I wouldn't feel comfortable if we don't have a seat at the table because we always know how that advocacy goes. So maybe that's something you could look into. We can be guaranteed a seat. And then the examples of
Absolutely.
what these projects would look like so that we can complement that with what Councilmember Barcino said.
Just one last question, and I guess we are going to get more information, but right now, do you see any time constraint as far as joining? Do we have to join now, or is it something that we can reconsider later?
My understanding is within the next couple of months, so that within 60 days, they're looking to see who wants to be a part of this. So they're still in the study phase, in a sense. One thing to keep in mind, when I first saw this happening, it reminded me of Riverside County's TUMF fee, the TUMF. It's the Traffic Uniform Mitigation Fee. Now, what Riverside County does is for transportation projects, they do something similar like this, where member cities put money into this fund, and then it's used to fund the infrastructure. Now, the complaints that I had seen back then is that some cities, like the one I was working for in Riverside County, was saying, hey, what about us? We've got money in there. We still haven't been selected for a project. Well, they would come back and they would say, well, your project has to be shovel ready. It's got to be approved. It's got to be ready to go. And again, it was up to the board to decide which project within the region was ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. At this moment, I'll go ahead and make a motion to receive and file. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Chavez. Roll call vote.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Chavez,
Yes.
Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on to council member, successor agency member comments, starting with Councilmember Barsina.
Just thank you, staff. Thank you to the council for a good meeting, and I hope you guys have a great week and have a good night.
Councilmember Pulido? Councilwoman Pulido.
I just want to thank all the participants of tonight's meeting, and I also want to wish a belated happy birthday to our chief who had a birthday last Monday. I know when I turned 21, I was very excited, so I hope that your coming of age celebration was all that you wished for. Happy birthday.
He was born on February 29th, a leap year, so he just has a birthday every 4 years. That's why he's 21.
Councilmember Chavez.
I'm assuming we're on comments.
Yes.
Okay, briefly, I just want to thank everybody for the great meeting. You know, how do I say this? You know, sometimes when we have council meetings, there's some big hot stuff, you know, and then sometimes it's just pretty straightforward. You know, just go on consent calendar. Maybe have one discussion item and we move on. You know, today's council meeting, I did a lot of thinking about the street vending thing throughout the whole weekend. It was one of those tough ones where on one hand, you know, and I make it public, like I'll post on my social media that I'm going to go buy street tacos from someone and I'll even tag the person, right? You know, I understand the hustle and just trying to make a living. But at the same time, right, I think, you know, I feel comfortable saying that all of us saw what happened on Univision. We saw what happened outside, you know, and that was like a huge, like, oh, damn, like, this is huge. You know, this is happening in my own city. I think my biggest concern was that, you know, of all the restaurants, of all the community out there, you know, and I feel comfortable that we're all very transparent. We all communicate with our community. We all post on our social medias. Nobody directly reached out to me specifically. Nobody shot me a DM. Nobody called me to my personal cell. Nobody was like, hey, you know what? Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation about it. Right. I think that was what caught me the most surprised, that, you know, nobody ever wanted to meet with Gus. Nobody wanted to meet with the city manager. Nobody wanted to have just a peaceful conversation about street vending. Right. Instead, somehow we got a camera and it was live. And I don't know, like, I didn't want to see my city of Bell Gardens in public line like that, saying that, you know, our not only of our street vendors, but at the same time, our businesses, you know, there was a conflict. Right. So, I mean, this whole weekend, I did a lot of thinking about that. I'm glad to see the result that we came out of. I'm glad to see that, you know, there's going to be a huge campaign now. Looking forward to seeing that, of us doing some sort of promotion and campaign about supporting our local businesses here in our city. Yeah, that was great. And then finally, I'm glad to see the renderings of the new sort of lawn that we want to change up. I think that, you know, it sets an example as a city, you know, to go ahead and try to transition into that. Hopefully, I asked that maybe the homes that are around here, maybe they take that approach. I've seen some beautiful homes that have done some incredible stuff with their gardening outside, very drought resistant plants, and they look really nice. But again, I think it's about setting the example, and I'm glad to see that we've decided to move forward with that. With that said, I'll go ahead and conclude my comments. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to congratulate once again the Bell Gardens High School wrestling team. I can't mention how much it's important that they are students first and athletes, just like the coaches echoed. I also want to share that I was able to go to League of California Cities and meet other new council members. Me being my first term here, it was nice to network with other cities. And one cool aspect that I saw is that I know we all have business cards, and they had these business cards where they would just tap your phone and all their information would appear on your cell phone. So I thought that that's something that maybe we could look into as well, because I thought that was pretty neat. Once again, thank you so much to all the staff. I know that we've had some challenges this week, you know, dealing with some very difficult things, bringing up different ordinance, and I'm looking forward to reviewing those with my colleagues and moving forward and supporting the city.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, friendship and love for those of you who gonna be all romantic. Happy Valentine's Day, happy belated birthday, Chief, and Councilman Person, you have.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to bring something up. Given that we have those comments from some of our vecinas and residents that they've also approached me outside of this particular meeting, I would like to ask, well, just to see if it will be possible, maybe, would we be able to send out a letter to property owners in regards, like a reminder of the ordinance? Would that be something that staff can help us do? And maybe we don't have to decide now, but can we add an item for the next meeting? Maybe just talking about how we're, enforcing the policy that we passed. Just a quick brief update on the things that the city is doing. Because I know Gus is putting in a lot of work, following up with some of the property owners and helping some of these residents. Just a general update. I know that there's a lot of positivity there because I've heard great things from your department. So I'd like to request that item for the next meeting.
Okay, with that, if there's no objection by the city council, I'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 8:24 p.m.